entrepreneur. Marcus, thanks for stopping by. And you know what, man? When you think about when you played the NFL, and this is where we're going to get to the second part of the show, how entrepreneurship would be as much work or even more work than playing in the NFL in certain ways. It's crazy, right?
Oh my God, Neil, entrepreneurship is constantly everyday grinding and working and early mornings and late nights. Like there are times, Neil, when I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning where I know I can actually go down to my computer, get some work. I don't have to worry about texts or emails or stuff coming in. It's more quiet. I can get things done. Late nights, sometimes I have to like 11, 12 o'clock working on work files for my coaching clients, ideas in my head about, oh, we could do this to grow our brand here, do this with our team there. And so it's always this constantly on the clock thinking, and always as an entrepreneur. You just never stop.
So, Marcus, let's talk about career. Did you always think you'd play in the NFL? That's always where I open up a question and I go deeper based on the answer.
To answer your question, Neil, no, because I grew from 6'3" to almost 6'6" between my last year of high school, my first year of college. And when I got to Howard University, I was so excited and so grateful to get a scholarship. And what happened is, right, Neil, when I got there, I ended up starting as a redshirt freshman. And I was like, oh, okay, like, all right, whatever. And then I remember going into my junior year, I saw my name in a draft book. I was like, what? This is crazy. I remember calling my brother, say, Jonathan, I'm in a draft book. He said, bro, like, yes, I've seen it. People know what you're doing. Just stay focused. And so after my junior, he's like, should I come out? He said, bro, no, you're not coming out. Stay in school. And what happened is, Neil, I just kept working. I just kept getting after it. And then next you know, I got drafted to the NFL out of Howard University.
And that's pretty impressive, right? An HBC school and how it's not the easiest thing to do to get in the NFL.
No, no, it's not. It's interesting. My draft class, there were almost 10 of us that got drafted out of HBCUs, which was almost unheard of. Like Howard University, Morgan State, Hampton, Tuskegee, Alabama A&M. And we had some great players come out there. It was unreal, but it's not very common in that regard. And I don't think there's been an HBCU player drafted in a couple of years into the NFL. Some guys have gone and played, but has not been drafted into the NFL out of HBCUs lately. So it's not the easiest thing to do in the world.
Definitely. So you get to the NFL, you get drafted by what team?
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay. Interesting. The Jaguars. And at that point in time, did you think you had the chance to make the team? What was the whole process like? Because
So
yeah.
that's a great question, Neil. So when I got drafted, I really knew I had a chance to make the team and play because I really was very fortunate that the Jaguars were kind of going through a lot of changes in the front office and with the team, and they were trying to go younger, but still, I had to work like a dog because we had some fantastic guys on the other side of the football on my own team. Guys like Marcus Stroud, John Henderson, Hugh Douglas, Tony Brackens, Marco Coleman. Like these guys are like killers. And always just like, I think the youngest guy was like 25, 26. Here I am, 22 years old, against guys like Hugh Douglas, like what, in his 30s, or Tony Brackens in his 30s. Like these guys were amazing athletes. But I knew I had a chance because when I got to the Jaguars, got to practice that first time with the vets coming to the field, I was able to hold my own. And I knew if I could just learn the system and work on my footwork and continue to get better, I could have a chance to make the team play. And it was great because once I was able to make the roster, play, I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity for me. But again, you just got to keep working. And so I think that's the key to the NFL, right, Neil? You just got to keep
Yeah.
working.
And that's the difference is these kids think that they go right to the NFL, they're guaranteed a job, even if they're a top in college. No, it's not talent.
Yeah.
It's so much work. And
Oh,
it really kind of relates to entrepreneurship in the day where you wake up, you have to go. It's not, I mean, even in college football, it's the same deal where a student athlete or a professional puts so much time in that they understand if they can really kind of understand the gears of entrepreneurship It's the same deal. It's just constant. Start the day, film, study, all those things. Explain that and how you and also getting along with coaches. You have to be a team player. Getting along with your players, not being a so all explain all that to kind of stay in the sport.
So Neil, it's great work by you because these things are so important. Culture is big. You have to fit the culture as a young player, come in there humble, ready to work, and ready to show the veterans, no matter where you were drafted, first round, second round, not whatever. The vets don't care about where you were drafted. They care, can you come here, contribute, help us win? That's all they care about. So the players, the veterans, need to see your work ethic. The coaching staff wants to see, are you going to be making the same mistakes over and over again? Are you going to make a mistake, learn from it, fix it, move on? That's what they want to see. And then you talk a lot about the weight room, the film room. There's so much film and study and preparation and offensive team meetings, offensive meetings, O-line room, running back room. Like you're constantly watching film. Like that's what training camp is really about. Back when I played, it was much more physical. Today, it's not as physical as it was back then, but today it's so much more mental because you're not allowed to have as much padded practice as we used to have back in the day. So what happens is you have spiders or shells on, you're moving fast, doing things, but a lot of times they're in the film room watching and learning. And so if you can't pick up that, and you know what, Neil, what happens, a lot of young players, unfortunately, they don't do a good job if they're struggling. They don't do a good job of adjusting and learning the playbook like they need to. The young players that come in and contribute and have great athletic ability and learn the playbook, like for example, I'm very impressed right now with Jackson Dart from the Giants. Extremely impressed. He's got the talent, he's got the work ethic, he knows the plays. As a young quarterback, that's really hard. I mean, that's really hard.
Yeah.
So again, they're like all these things, like your film room, your film study, your culture with the veterans, how you learn from the coaches, all that plays a major factor into your length and your length of time in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talk about this as I was talking to Trayvon Hester, who ended up tutoring, by the way, that played for the Eagles and all that stuff. And he talks about, how quick the NFL career's over and it's done. And he's like, and then now it's a new thing. He's coaching now and all that, but he's like, he's still trying to figure out his path. And that's the process that we're going to talk about. You, at least, in making your transition. But I think coming from Howard and not expectations that you were going to be a superstar in the NFL, you wanted to make the team, you wanted to play for a while, you were learning and like a sponge, because an opportunity to play with such superstars on the same field, in the same, getting part of understanding the NFL as a business is so important if you can use that time wisely, right?
You said it best, my friend. The NFL is a business. And if you don't treat it as a business, you are going to end up not being in business or having a job. So I tell my young athletes that I go, like high school kids, college kids, it's all about your ability to understand it is not, it's like you have to treat it as a career. You have to treat it as you're going to work every day. This is not playtime.
Right.
This is a game, yes, but you have to play it like it is a business, because it is a business. And again, Trayvon's 100% right. It's like about what, 2 years, like the average lifespan or a career span of an NFL athlete is like 1.8 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys that I mean, guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they're icons, they're less like, but that's not reality. That's not normal, right? Most guys are coming in, they're undrafted or late round picks, trying to adjust, trying to make a team, trying to figure out if they fit the scheme, fit the system. I think work with the veterans, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And the next thing you know, they're fighting for a job. They don't end up making a team, trying to get to another team, and
Right.
then it's just so much, man. I tell people all the time, you gotta treat it like a job, like a career. It's no longer a game. The NFL is a business with shoulder pads and helmets, period.
And when you build a brand through whatever sport you play or whatever thing you had a brand, and they're able to take it to the next level, you have to utilize that in so many ways. The people you meet, your network is your net worth. Bottom line, who you know is how you're going to be successful in business. You're going to be successful in life as a job or a business. What you're going to do after that is such an important thing. So were you, when again, you got the opportunity to play in Europe, you got to go back and forth NFL to Europe, then back to the NFL again. What do you feel you learned most in that, I guess, process of playing for so many different teams, that when you walked away, you were ready?
I learned something very paramount, Neil, from Jack Del Rio. He was my rookie coach, rookie head coach with the Jaguars. That was actually his rookie season as a head coach in the
Okay.
NFL, which was even crazier. Jack always said, be your own CEO, be your own chief executive officer. Jack told us, if I have to tell you what time to get here, or when to stay late, or to go into the Jaguar community and meet the fans and all these things, and I'm having to tell you this, you won't have a job here with the Jaguars, and you won't have a job more than likely in the NFL. No coach wants to have to inspire or get going their players, especially their young players. So again, I learned from Jack, always be your own CEO. Without a doubt, Neil, the best advice I ever got, and I took that advice when I left the NFL. I struggled for about 6 months because I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know have a passion. Lost my father the year before that, so I was struggling and didn't know what to do. But I always remember Jack's words, and once I finally got myself together, I said, "Let's move forward." And that's when I became into a business owner, and I was very, very successful in that regard until my ego got in the way.
Okay, this is, see, we could have a part two, part three. I have no idea how the universe puts us together, you know. And I don't know if you know some of my background. I'm a former professional wrestler. The Rock wore my knee pads before. He was The Rock. I wrestled overseas and things like that. Became a teacher, came back in my career, and then finally got back into media and all that stuff. And be an entrepreneur. I had a tutoring business, teacher. So I've worn a lot of different hats, but I understand exactly the process of when your life is nothing. My life is nothing but professional wrestling. And when I walked away, I had to talk. One of my clients is the former general manager of the New York Rangers, Neil Smith. And Neil Smith tells me, the Stanley Cup champion, he tells me flat out, he says, Neil, it was hard for me walking away as a general manager. So it's not easy when we're used to a specific schedule, specific thing, that we got to go to the real world where people don't give a damn anymore of what we've done.
It's 100% right. Neil, that is the one thing that most athletes I know, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, struggle with, is when they are done and the lights are off and nobody is screaming or chanting their name. They're like, wow, what am I going to do now? And that's the harsh reality for a lot of athletes. They don't know what's going to happen next. And I was exactly that athlete when I ended up leaving the National Football League.
But then you went and then you figured out entrepreneurship, but you said you still fell again. So talk about that story.
So, Neil, I ended up building from the ground up the largest African American owned subcontracting company in Baltimore City. It was a $25 million company at the height of our brand and
Wow.
our business. But unfortunately, as the company grew, my attitude, my ego got so massive that I could not ever be stopped from being my own worst enemy. And I constantly was looking for praise from people. people to accept me, to acknowledge me, to love me, and I didn't even know how to love myself. And I ended up just creating this negative, toxic culture that seeped into my employees, my client base. I became the laughing stock of Baltimore City. At the end of 2011, we were the largest African-American owned subcontractor in the area of site work. At the beginning of 2013, I'm bankrupt, I'm broke, I'm ready to file a bankruptcy. My home was foreclosed on. Both cars were repossessed in the same day. I remember on December 23rd, 2012, the bank called me, Neil, and said, Marques, we've been meeting for 5 hours and we're going to shut Caden down. You're finished. We're coming after your assets, everything. And when I left Baltimore, Neil, in April 2013, I got down to Raleigh and I had $400 left to my name.
Oh my
Okay?
goodness. Yeah.
That's it.
That's rough. That's a
Well,
rough rock bottom.
No, and it's funny, right, Neil? Rock bottom came in September 2013 when I was a custodian and I had my spoiled milk moment when somebody's trash, rotten meat, nasty, protruding, horrible smelling, stinking garbage got all over me. That was my wake-up call. And without that moment, Neil, I don't know if I would have ever woken up because I needed something to jolt my system because I was constantly blaming my partner, my employees, my clients. It was everybody's fault but Marques. But then I said, Marques, you're the culprit here once that spoiled milk rock bottom moment happened. And once it did, Neil, that's when I started to see, you know what? I got to take accountability and I got to be responsible for my life. And once I did that, that's when things started to get better.
Okay. So so you got out of that. What did you end up doing after that?
I ended up after that, I ended up going, and starting my business as a speaker. And I started to really push myself to the next level. I started working on my craft. I started working on all the things I needed to get done. And it started to really make some great strides. And, I started speaking in September 2013. And what happened was I finally got my first paid speaking job in April 2016. And I just kept moving and I kept going and I kept moving, I kept growing, and it was really awesome. But at the end of the day, my friend, what I really hope people get from my story is it took me 2.5 years to get my first paid speaking job. 2.5 years. And finally got my first paid job in April 2016. And then I got my second paid job in 2017 with the Buffalo Bills. And then from there, I met Mel Robbins in 2018. I got coached, I got developed. And then from there, my friend, I became a speaker that started speaking all over the world. And so in the last 7 years, Neil, we've spoken for over 85 Fortune 500 clients, not including massive others in the business and in the industries, but we do a lot in finance, do a lot in insurance, technology, real estate, and mortgages.
So talk about Mel Robbins and how she helped develop you to get to this point where you're at.
Oh, Mel Robbins taught me something because I was on her audiobook, Neil, Kick Ass with Mel.
Okay.
What she taught me was the following: motivation is garbage. It's short-term hustle for short-term gain. She said, you want to be great, Marques, in life, you want to make an impact, you want to be a person that people want to follow, be inspirational. And once I heard that, that's when I said, okay, I'm not going to be speaking for the short term or for my own gain. I'm going to speak to inspire, to help others push through their struggles, and I want to be the light to help others push through in times of extreme darkness. And Mel Robbins taught me about how to be inspirational and not just motivational.
That's tremendous. And I think what you saw from that is this is what my purpose is to tell my story to others, to talk about what I ended up doing and being able to come back from that. It is amazing. You know what I mean? Because it's like, wow. And how do you, because give people inspiration, how are you able to speak at all these top events? What gives you that, you know, you're not the biggest superstar ever that, is a all-time pro bowler, that's out there. You are speaking in these corporate events and all these different things as somebody that had to start from scratch again after losing all his money. So talk about, like, how did you do it? How are you able to get these opportunities and be the speaker at all these places?
You know what, Neil? It's a fantastic question. Three things. Number one is just grind, grind, and put the time in. That's number one. Number two, this business is built off relationships. Number two. Number three, I own my crap and I share my story where a lot of people do not. I am very real, very authentic, very vulnerable, and people love that. We have a podcast that you're going to be coming on called Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. That podcast has really helped us the last 3 years grow our footprint, right? But before that, it still was the grind, right? The relationships and being authentic and vulnerable. A lot of people don't want to share their true, real, deepest, darkest secrets. I tell people all the time, failed in business, 177 creditors, Neil, on my bankruptcy docket, $5.5 million of debt. I got divorced. I moved into a small 2-bedroom, roach-infested, dirty apartment because I only had 2 weeks to get out, and I needed a place that was fully furnished with at least 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms for me and my daughter, who I was going to be sharing custody with her mom. And I was in that apartment for 2.5 months, Neil. I couldn't get out of bed. I was struggling. I was addicted to alcohol and nightlife and all this stuff
Yeah.
because I did not have a purpose. And finally, in January of 2023, I woke up one morning and said, Marques, enough is enough. You got to know who you are. You got to know why you're here. You got to align your passion and your purpose. And I did those 3 things, Neil, changed my life. I bought my dream home in May of that same year, turned my life completely back around. So I believe why people hire us is because when we go, and again, I learned from Mel Robbins, be inspirational, but also educate people. And we do that through action steps and things people can utilize in their businesses and in their lives. And people love that.
And I think the thing, Marques, is it's never too late. Gary Vee just posted something today, a video about 54-year-old man. If you're a 54-year-old man, your kids just went back to college. You feel like you have nothing going for yourself. What did you accomplish in your 54? He says you have 30 more years to grind. You have the same success opportunity at 54 than a 13-year-old right now, a teenager. So don't give up on that thing. So that's the thing that I think we both need to say is, I'm 52 and I'm grinding and I'm working harder than I ever worked in my life still. And I love it. And I love everything that I do. And it's something that every moment, every morning I wake up, I love my life and what I'm going to do next. And I can't believe what's the next thing. Who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to help? And it just gives me that joy each and every day. That's the thing. Once that light bulb comes on, you feel that energy and you feel that you can keep going.
Amen. Because again, right, my days are long, but they're not dull. They're not empty. They're fulfilling. I get to coach people, be on great podcasts like yours, interview people on my podcast. I get to, work on descriptions and titles for upcoming podcasts that people love to listen to. I get to check how many downloads that we have on our podcast today. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, we have almost 800,000 downloads since June 1st of this year.
Fantastic.
We just keep putting in the work, right? Like you do. And that's exactly what it's all about. Just don't give up on what you're trying to get done.
And so you've put that time and effort into the podcast, and I've seen the podcast as your gold mine to do business deals. And that's how I teach my clients is the podcast is the place you get to meet somebody and build your business and opportunity and networking. But you don't go in just to use them to say, okay, I'm going to go sell on them. No, you're going to build a relationship. If there's an opportunity, there's an opportunity. There's going to be an opportunity later on. One thing is one of my clients never gave me a referral. 12 years later, gave me one referral that's helped grow my business exponentially. You never know when that opportunity comes. And when you have that, you say yes. Say yes to it. I'm starting a streaming network, and I'm also working with another client that I'm running a streaming network as a fractional CMO. All these things is if you believe it's possible, it's possible. And that's how I look at things. You
Amen,
know,
Neil. I love it.
and that's the thing. So, congratulations. So, where can we check out your podcast and check you out? Where can we go?
Thanks, brother. You can go to our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com. You can go to check out our podcast, Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the major platforms.